As federal agencies continue to migrate more of their IT and data management operations to the cloud, they are also realizing the ability not just to modernize their operations, but also improve their ability to deliver on their mission. One such agency is the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, an independent agency of the federal government primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid and development assistance. Joining us to talk about how USAID's migration to the cloud helped it to improve mission-oriented support for climate sustainability, global health, and supply chain initiatives are Jason Gray, Chief Information Officer at USAID, and also joining us to add perspective on how cloud computing is helping federal agencies is Jamie Baker, Director of Federal Health Science Policy at Amazon Web Services. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And Jason, let me start with you. Give us a brief sense of the scope of USAID's IT operations and the increasing amount of data that USAID generates and handles.
Thank you for having me. USAID operates in more than 80 countries around the world, providing disaster relief, poverty relief, technical cooperation on global issues such as environment, global health, and humanitarian assistance. So from an IT standpoint and operations, we have nearly 14,000 users worldwide in offices both in the US as well as those 80 plus missions in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, supporting 200 plus applications. So as you can imagine, the cloud has been absolutely critical to our IT operations.
And then what have been some of your biggest challenges of late in harnessing the vast amounts of data that your agency works with, and how has the cloud helped address some of those challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say it really comes down to three real challenges. One is a geographically distributed data across those 80 countries, as well as the administrative overhead in managing, securing, protecting, and defending the data and systems, as well as the technology footprint that you would have to support. And this is where the cloud comes in. When I look at the geographic distribution, it's wonderful having everything in the cloud because then I'm not codependent on 80 plus different locations to pull on that data or share that data or make that data available. As you can imagine, the administrative overhead as well. Imagine having individuals who are having to manage the data and secure and provide operations in 80 different locations versus in a cloud model where everything is centralized and available. Same thing from a technology standpoint, just the ability to support the technology in a central spot versus 80 plus different spots makes it much, much easier.
And then, Jamie, I'm curious of your perspective. What are the biggest challenges that you're also seeing agencies having in harnessing the rapid growth of data? And again, how do you see agencies really making smarter use of the cloud over the past year?
Thank you for having me. So one thing I would highlight was USAID was one of the very earliest adopters of cloud computing. And I think it really is reflective of their FITARA scorecard, which has been extremely high for a number of years now. I think the largest challenges really stem from just the pure data explosion that's happening across pretty much every agency vertical across the federal government. And the challenge is really about how do you find what are the most critical data sets that are most impactful for the mission, categorizing them and making sure that you have the proper metadata to put that data to better use. One of the benefits around cloud computing is really once you get your data into an ecosystem that you now have access to cloud native tools where you can test and try different analytics capabilities, different databases, and really get access to hundreds of independent software vendors we call ISVs, so that you can test rapidly to see what are the best tools available and what are the best ways that you can actually put that data to use. And then finally, I'd say as we look into the future, all of the development around artificial intelligence and now the generative AI movement that's happening, all of that development is really happening on the large scale cloud platforms. And so making sure that your data is available and put into a location like a cloud computing really gives you access to those next generation tools so that you can drive further insights into those large data sets.
Well, Jason, what are some examples of the kinds of insights and benefits that your agency employees are gaining by leveraging the cloud?
Yeah, so I would say that a few of them would be, as I mentioned briefly before, the reduction of the administrative overhead is freeing up resources to be able to focus on other activities that need to get done. Availability, as you can imagine, being geographically dispersed across the globe, having a central spot, the availability, not having to depend on local network infrastructure or connectivity makes it the access to that data much easier. Decision making has been absolutely critical. I think in the last few months, we've had several order departures where we've had to evacuate people from areas like Sudan and Niger and Haiti. And the ability to have the data in the cloud to be able to inform decision making, in some cases, certainly in these cases, time is absolutely critical. And then another benefit, and this gets to a bit of what Jamie was talking about, is being able to develop once and use many and establish best practices and not have to sift through numerous environments to find that and share that. That has been really, really helpful being in a cloud model instead of having it siloed.
And then, Jamie, I'm curious also, what are some other examples of the kinds of insights or benefits that you're seeing agencies achieve by leveraging the cloud, and maybe what they could learn from what USAID is doing?
So the other verticals that I support in our federal practice are healthcare and science. An example I would give in the healthcare realm is at the National Institutes of Health, the STRIDES program, which is essentially a research enclave that they've established for the extramural research community. Think of like the academic medical centers who are receiving federal grant dollars. It creates an environment for them to be able to put their most highly valued data sets into an NIH-controlled environment, and then gives them access to the tools and analytics capabilities to really drive further scientific discovery. Another example would be over at NASA in the Earth observation satellite division, where they're moving their satellite data information into Amazon Web Services and then putting different analytics capabilities towards that data, and then looking across different types of satellite feeds to say, are there correlations between ocean levels and carbon dioxide levels in different parts of the world, so that they can get better understanding of how our planet is really interacting between these different environments. And then lastly, I would highlight specifically for USAID, the Biden administration's Prosper Africa program connected us with Choppies, which is an African grocery store, and they're leveraging the cloud to create an application that allows the supermarket chain to interact with local farmers so that they can get better information about how the crops are doing, and then leveraging blockchain technology to ensure that they have visibility into that stream of goods that are coming into the grocery store. And I thought that would be, really insightful for them to be able to get better predictive analytics about, the food that's coming to people's plates.
Thank you for sharing that. And Jason, one of the things I loved about what Jamie just shared was, how the cloud's ultimately helping, the broader public. And I'm curious, how has modernizing with cloud applications translated into other tangible benefits for the global communities that USAID serves?
Yeah, so a few examples come to mind. One, I know we've all recently gone through one of the greatest health challenges faced in recent times with COVID-19. USAID led government interagency global vax initiative, which was really about accelerating COVID-19 vaccination delivery around the world. We pulled in multiple data sources to monitor and evaluate in our partner countries to provide summaries of, how are the vaccination rates going? And so that was one of the ways. Another was through something we call our development data library, which is really about open data and making sure that we're sharing that and being transparent with that. As a government agency, we need to make sure that we're transparent with the data that we're collecting and making it available for others to use. And then the last thing I would say, and I know there's been a lot of press on this recently, but a USAID supported platform called DIA, which is providing government services during wartime in Ukraine. It has enabled millions of Ukrainians to access over 100 government services, again, through the cloud. So those are a few ways that cloud is helping us reach our, those we serve.
Sounds like it has a tremendous impact as well. And then just to start wrapping up, Jason, what are one or two lessons that you've learned about migrating to or leveraging the cloud, or maybe what might you have done differently? And what opportunities are you planning to work on next?
Yeah, so I would say in hindsight, it's always reflective, right? I would have certainly jumped on board quicker. Again, I know that USAID has been an early adopter to cloud. The Department of Education, where I had come from, was also an early adopter to cloud. I know there was a lot of concern about the risks associated with it. And I felt like the government has done a great job of, with our cloud service providers like AWS and others to ensure that we're securing information. So I would have embraced it quicker. Because, as mentioned, just the time saved in the improved security, instead of having to secure 80 different, just securing a few, it allows us to align our resources and be more effective and efficient with them. In terms of the future, I know, as Jamie mentioned about the generative AI, we're heavily focused on how can we embrace that so that we're not delaying, but also being deliberate with how we are looking for services. Really interested in a federal or a FedRAMP cloud for AI would be very amazing. That would mitigate some of that risk and allow us to start leveraging some of the technologies available out there today.
Great suggestion. And Jamie, finally, what additional recommendations might you make to help agencies continue to leverage the cloud more effectively?
Yeah, I think as agencies get more mature in their understanding of how cloud computing can really be leveraged to accelerate their mission, I think it always is important to focus on not just lifting and shifting an application to a different data center, if you will. I think the true value of cloud really comes out in the modernization of those applications, and then the automation that comes with that, and being able to really get what we call the undifferentiated heavy lifting of IT really out of the equation, so that your IT infrastructure can essentially be automated with security patching, with development, DevOps deployments, and things like that. And then secondly, I would say if you're an agency that's very new and thinking about getting into to leveraging the cloud, one recommendation I would have is don't start with something that's really easy to do, meaning like just put their public facing website on the cloud. That's a pretty easy lift. I've seen agencies be very successful when they first moved a very mission critical application, because that was really a signal from leadership saying, we're serious about this and we need everybody to get on board, and we're gonna, we need to make sure this can't fail, right? And so that's a suggestion of and an opportunity I think that many agencies might be able to take advantage of when they're continuing to migrate and take advantage of cloud computing.
Absolutely. Well, Jason Gray and Jamie Baker, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share your insights about how leveraging the cloud really not only helps federal agencies, but helps the public at large. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.